Kidnapped, A Royal Birthday is the new choice of games game. Takes place in a high fantasy world where goblins, chimera, fairies, vampires, and even, Amazonians exist in this world. You play as a prince or a princess of a kingdom, and while you're getting ready for your coronation ceremony, your brother and sister form the Damsel in Distress League, so that when royalty and pretty people get kidnapped, only suitable heroes will rescue them. And, they kind of want to, unionize that aspect of royal life. And that's kind of where the game starts to pick up with you getting kidnapped kind of quick after that. This game is pretty solid. It's a pretty solid 6 out of 10. Not that a 6 out of 10 is bad, I don't like to think of this as like school when I grade things. Not that what I say is really important, but I don't think a 6 out of 10 is that terrible. Like, this isn't my favorite choice of games game, but definitely not the worst. I like how the story is unique, which is always my favorite part of these games. Like, there's probably no other story or medium of entertainment which has had a story like this. A story where you play as a prince or princess and you're kidnapped, and then there's a union of people who are responsible and have to follow certain rules to rescue you, and then they bumble, like, they kind of fuck up rescuing you. I like that about this game, that there's no other story like it. One of my problems with this game, though, is the lack of replayability, which is a big part of these, text games, is that you can go down different paths. Like, as you descend down the tower, you've been kidnapped, there's almost no difference playthrough to playthrough. You would just use a different solution to get past the creatures guarding the tower. There's no replayability there. There's no different options. Like, the most different you can get with the playthroughs going down the tower is, like, who you flirt with. Do you decide to kiss Rose this time or something? Not too much replayability. The only amount of replayability comes in at the end, and it's who you side with. Your sister, or your brother, or yourself. The lack of replayability doesn't hurt the game too much. It is 158,000 words. It took me about 2-ish hours to read through it all. So, it only cost me like $3. So, depending on how much money you have, that might be worth it for you. It might not. I would definitely recommend, if you have money in your pocket, to pick it up, but if you don't, you're not missing out on much. The characters in this game, they really didn't make an impact for me. I didn't really care about them or their struggles. I can barely remember their names. Like I said, Rose. Gosh, who even are the other characters? I can't really remember. They didn't really make an impact. Another thing which would have made this game a lot better is just more downtime to get to know your rescuers, the people who attempt to rescue you, and then even your family better. You don't even know them. You really only know just kind of the surface level understanding of who your family is and what they stand for. Your sister wants to support the peasants, and then your brother supports the aristocracy. But you don't understand why, or how they turned out like that. You all have the same mom and dad, but then everybody has radically different opinions on what should be done politically. Not saying that doesn't happen in real life, but I'd like to know, why does the sister support commoners and fairies and magic users, and the brother doesn't? Did something happen there? It really just feels like they just support that to give you a different option. And then surface level information is kind of an understatement when it comes to your rescuers, the party of people who want to help you get out of the tower. You barely know anything about them. You know their names. You know what they want, what they would want if they allied with your kingdom. But other than that, there's just no more info on them. You barely have time to talk, and then when you do talk, there's 3 options: kiss them, I want to be friends, or flirt. Like, there's just not much to do. There's not much to talk to them about. Like, why would I want to marry this person? How am I supposed to, fall in love with them if I barely know anything about them? Uh, Now onto the difficulty of this game. It's really not that hard. It's basically is just a novel where the choices you make keep the story moving forward, like just through different methods. You have about 5 stats, and before the first chapter was over, I had like three out of my 5 stats up to like around 60%, and that's pretty high. That can get you through. That got me through like the entire game, and then of course there's chances to increase it even more. Like there is very little chance that you're gonna choose the wrong like decision to make as you descend down the tower or try to regain your throne or support one of your siblings just because of how high like one of your stats are. All you have to do is like press stats, check which one's highest, and then the decision's pretty obvious. I wish more choice and or hosted games would take like a Dragoon Saga approach to difficulty, where your stats and choices both need to make sense. Like in that game, even if you have a high combat skill, a direct approach still might kill a lot of your men. That still might not be the best decision to make. Like I just wish more games would take that approach with it, where your stats and the decisions you make are important, not just the stats. Speaking of stats, another positive aspect of this game I like is the stature stat. And that kind of shows like how much like you act like the king, how much you act like the next heir to the throne. And that kind of affects how people like react to you, how much the peasants like you, if you're able to take power, who you can throw your power behind. I really do like this aspect of like medieval games that I wish more stories would take. Like you need to act like a king. You need to act like you were ordained by God to lead. So I just think like more games should just kind of take notice of that. This game, it's all right. I kept reading. I got through it all. I think it's better than Floating City. Floating City was ass, bro. I just think it's better than some of their newer games coming out. Definitely not one of their best. Definitely not one of my favorites. I don't think I see myself ever reading it again. But definitely not bad. Like I said, it's a solid 6 out of 10. For $3, I'd say it's worth it to buy it. Like that's all I have to say. This has been Salty Dog. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. If you thought it was dog shit, tell me why, bro. So that's all. I'll see you some other time.